Yeah, yeah. Well, I just hope our friend of ours finishes his storyline. That's all I care about.
Yes. So we were joking, and again, we bring it up on At Odds every now and then. But a couple of us, when they're in between jobs, they talk about looking up all of those companies that went out of business over the last, like, let's say, like 10, 15 years that would like fit into like your age bracket of job history and so forth. Like I know a friend of ours puts down that they were in charge of continuity and development at World Championship Wrestling when it was part of Turner Broadcasting up to March of 2001. Other friends of us was like XYZ management at Toys R Us.
Right.
Like there's no way that you could track those things, but it's a great way to pad out your resume.
I only ever worked for one company, not counting like little jobs like working in a pizza place in high school. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I don't count that. That's money for the weekend, But I only tried one job. My stepfather worked at Haddon Craftsman his whole life. So he got me a job there and I tried it. And the first manager that they put me with was like the worst. Like he even told me, he's like, you got the slave driver. And I was like, whatever, I'll work it out. Right. We went for a while and I just did not like it. And then that's when I went to the quarry that we stole with my family and I worked there. And then, that was lucrative until I got my job in Cinnabon, and Cinnabon's, lasted me since that happened. So,
right.
And Cinnabon working strong in the last 20 years. So.
Yeah, it's what do they call those businesses that like no matter what the economy is,
right? It doesn't
like
matter. They're like recession proof.
Yeah, there you go, recession proof. That's
listen,
what it is.
When you have undercooked dough and frosting, boy oh boy, you can't give that shit away fast enough.
Right, and then my job history, is much like it's a little bit bigger than yours, but like. I had a paper route when I was 12.
Yeah.
And then when I was like 14, I still had the paper route and I worked at 2 different local restaurants that are long out of business as a dishwasher.
Right.
Then I gave up the one restaurant burned down.
Right. So, you didn't happen to leave your apron on the stove, did you?
No. I did leave some of my comics under the washing machine, though. I don't know why I would do something like that.
That's just crazy talk. So you didn't pull the Chachi at Arnold's, is what I'm saying.
No.
Okay.
So I picked up more hours at the other restaurant, and I gave up the paper route. Then I worked at a McDonald's. Then
you tell me that a lot whenever we get into the deep discussion of McDonald's.
Yeah.
But go ahead, sorry.
Then I worked at a JCPenney call center.
Ooh.
And then the job that I have now.
Super secret science.
Yeah, super secret science that I've had now for the better part of like 24 years.
Yep, and you'll have that till you die.
Or they go to business, one or the other.
Well, it was looking at 2 years either way. So
it was a race between me and the job going out of business, and me and Twitter completely blowing up. I lost Twitter, but maybe I won it. I don't know.
I know. I think I seen like a Secret Invasion thing with Cakes by April. I'll tell you that. I think a scroll took over that account.
Yeah. So I, obviously in my ongoing whatevers with Twitter, I sent the thing
feud kind of a deal.
Again, I think it's not so much as a losing feud, but. I told you last week I had the one where they replied to me like 3 times in one day, not giving me an answer, but closing out the case and not saying that my Twitter account's done, where they're like, hey, we can't verify your account.
Right.
Go here and confirm your email address. But when this link that we give you, your email address is already pre-filled and grayed out, so you can't alter it or change it. Good luck.
Right. It's the greatest rivalry ever, is you and X. So
I sent the thing on Monday. I got no reply. Usually I do get a reply on Monday, and we do the dance, right? No reply on Monday. So Monday night, we're just sitting on the couch doing nothing. I go, you know what? it's time to take over this other account that's been unused for several years, and they haven't closed due to inactivity. And I didn't want to do it all at once, change the name. Wait like an hour.
Right.
Change the picture. Wait like an hour. Because I think if you do everything all at once, it flags something, you know?
Right, yep.
So over the course of what would have been 4 or 5 hours, I slowly just changed that one into mine. And one of the last things that I had to do was just to give you an idea how long ago April had that and how long it's been since she used it. It is still going to be connected to this email address because I feel as though if I change it over to my email address,
right,
that's going to tip them off. They can't verify my email address to my actual account, but the minute I move that email address over to a new account, they're going to somehow be able to verify my email address. It's to her old AOL email address.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I still have my Verizon.
So I had to go in and reactivate it because they don't get rid of your email. You still have the same logins and everything else like that. And it's one of those deals where everything these days, it's we're noticing you're signing in on a new device for the first time in 12 years. So we need to send you this 6-digit code, right? So my wife gets the thing, and I'm like, she goes, "Is this the stupid thing you're doing with the Twitter?" I go, "Yes." I go, "Just tell me the code. We're fine."
Is that the way most of your wife's sentences start? Is this the stupid thing you're doing with blank?
Yes. So I can tell you this here. I mentioned in the Discord. I can tell the story. So we've been rewatching 30 Rock, right? One of our favorite shows. And there's an episode in season 1 where Liz Lemon starts dating a character who's played by Wayne Brady. And it's a whole thing of she gets accused of not wanting it. Liz, you're dating him. It's very progressive that you're dating a black man or that you're dating a black. And they're like, "Excuse me?" They're like, "No, that's his last name. His name's Bill Black," or whatever it is, right?
Right.
So that's the one joke. Then they go on the date and they have absolutely nothing in common, right? So then he loudly accuses her of racism and this whole thing. But while they're talking, one of the things that he brings up that he's really into is the political satirist Mark Russell.
Hey, yeah, and writer of Wonder Twins.
So I paused the episode and I explained to April. I go, "Well, you see, there's this writer and he did these things and he does comics and he's a big deal now and his name is Mark Russell. Same name as this guy who is an old, white-haired, whatever, political satirist and so on and so forth. So anytime that Mark Russell comes up, we always make the joke that it's the political satirist, even though he's been dead now for 2 years, right?" And April just goes,
Wow. You know what? I love that your wife no-sells you like you do to me.
Oh, forget about it. Where do you think I pick it up from?
Oh, well, put it down, Joe.
Every person who no-sells someone has someone else in their life that no-sells them. And they're just keeping that chain going. I'm sure there's somebody in your life that you no-sell everything they say.
Never. I laugh hysterically at all jokes. I'm like Brett. I'm the Brett, Everybody needs a Brett who laughs.
Mr. Hitman Brett?
No, I don't know that Brett. I'm talking about Brett from Wings on Wings.
Oh, and from We Need Wrestling, and yes.
From Wings on Wings.
Your brother in blue cheese, is that what it is?
Yes, brother in blue cheese. And comic reader extraordinaire now.
Yes. Love Dark Knight 2.
Oh, can't get enough of it. It gets better as it goes on, Joe.
That's a word.
Yes, it is. Words.
Now, we announced it on the Patreon this week, but I figure we can mention it here.
Right.
That next week for the Patreon, for our comic book oddities.
Right.
Where we had originally had planned that we were going to watch the first 2 episodes, which was back in the day, you'd get your TV movie of something.
And right, and they bust it up into 2 parts, kind of.
Right, it would essentially be 2 episodes of the TV show together as one, And then when they put it into like syndication or whatever the package was, they would just take the movie and split it up into 2 episodes or whatever. Mm-hmm. It was going to be the Malibu Comics character Nightman.
Right.
But Todd so graciously volunteered that instead for next week on the Patreon, Comic Book Oddities is going to be the smash hit of 2024, Madam Web.
Right. Might even be smash hit of 2025 if it keeps going.
Oh, remember back in the day?
Yeah.
When they would only release like 17 movies a year?
Yep, and they would stick around.
Yeah. And you would get like the ads in the newspaper. Remember the newspaper?
Yes. They still make it like 6 or 5 days a week, Joe, around here.
It's much smaller. Have I gotten that much bigger, or is the newspaper that much smaller?
I used to remember when I used to get mad that I could read when I'd go to the store and go to the deli and you get meat and they sliced it so thin you could read the newspaper through it. Well, now you could read the meat through the newspaper, Joe.
Oh my God.
That's a terrible joke.
That's actually a good one.
I'm giving my writer a raise then.
Yes. But they would have the thing where it's like Return of the Jedi held over for its like 98th week or whatever
exactly,
it was. Yep. Madam Web held over for its 3rd consecutive year.
Right. Indefinitely, Madam Web.
My local theater, obviously it opens on a Wednesday like all blockbusters do, to get that extra sweep over a holiday weekend for Valentine's Day.
Madam Web is for lovers.
Yes. But my local theater has 3 shows of it the opening weekend.
Good.
Or the opening day, the opening Wednesday. There's like a 3 o'clock, a 5 o'clock, and a 7 o'clock, and that's it.
You know what? That just makes your Valentine's Day more special with your date.
That's true.
It doesn't seem like everybody's doing it then,
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But that's my plan. We're going to go see it opening night because I don't want it to be spoilered.
Right.
Apparently.
End credit scene getting ruined.
Right. Apparently, they only took 5 promotional pictures and they just keep putting different filters on them.
Mm-hmm.
And they only released like 5 minutes of footage. And they have to cut those same 5 minutes up in different ways for all the different teaser trailers.
Right. You don't want to give away money, Joe. Like, that's just leaving money on it. Like, if I watch, like, give them as little as possible and get them salivate. Do you remember when Batman? Because this movie has Batman '89 vibes.
It does. That's what I hear people saying that.
I definitely hear people saying that. That's what it was. Remember when it was just the bat symbol and a date?
Mm-hmm.
That's what Madam Web is doing here.
Yeah.
Just letting Dakota Johnson just say all the great things about the movie that she's saying, and just pick those 8 pictures, and it's going to whip the Madam Web fans into a frenzy. A frenzy.
Did you end up going back to the Hot Topic during non-lunch hours?
No, it wasn't lunch. It was they were overwhelmed from selling Madam Web backpacks.
Yes.
Hand over fist. But I did not go back because it was an hour later. Like, that's when they were going to get their breather. So I was like, I should go back, but I forgot to.
Gotcha.
But maybe I'll do a journalism and go back tomorrow and just walk out with any standees they have of Madam Web.
Yeah,
like, just dump all the merch off it and throw it on my shoulder and walk out.
Yeah.
As I call it, the Dooge maneuver.
The Dooge maneuver that I inspired. I just want to...
Hey, listen. You may have inspired it, but he was the man to take action. He was Action Jackson that day. So.
Oh, speaking of which, R.I.P., ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, Predator, Carl Weathers from Arrested Development. You got a stew going, Joe.
The Rocky movies, the aforementioned Action Jackson. He was in The Mandalorian.
That's right. He was Grief Karga or something like that.
Yes.
Now we all have Grief Karga, Joe.
Oh, my goodness.
Give my writers another raise.
Maybe not.
But yeah,
he was supposed to be in some one of the big Super Bowl ad campaigns too.
That was the one that broke my heart because do you know a little football player by the name of Rob Gronkowski?
I've heard of him. He has his own World Wrestling Entertainment action figure.
Yes, he was the one who got stopped by that vicious female security guard from jumping the rail at a WrestleMania. But yes, he did. I think it was for FanDuel. If it's not, somebody's yelling at me.
It was FanDuel. It was FanDuel.
FanDuel, where he had the kick of destiny last year, where at halftime, he kicks a football, and if you bet on whether he makes it or not, and he missed it. So he was coming back this year. Like they had the commercial where he was all disheveled. He's got like long hair and a long beard. And he's like, and they're all like, you missed it, Gronkowski. And he's like, because he's a tight end. He's like, I don't kick, I catch. And he's like walking through the desert all disheveled. And Carl Weathers shows up on a motorcycle, taking him to like practice. Like, I feel they were going to do a montage for like the kick. And then he was going to be there. And they would kick the football. So I don't know what they're going to do now. And somehow the guy who's on your hat, John Cena, was supposed to be involved some way. So maybe like he would take over too. I don't know. So we'll have to see what they do, if they scrap all the Carl Weathers stuff, or they do the thing from a Happy Gilmore where he's just looking down from heaven with the alligator.
Yeah, I think they said that they reached out to his family and they said that they were going to still do the commercial, but they were going to like lessen his presence in it per the family's wishes or something.
Right, and still cut him the check. So
yeah, that's a bummer though, man. He was one of our greatest living actors, and now he's dead.
You know what? Listen, just on Predator alone, man, or Apollo Creed in 4 Rocky movies. Oh my God, so good.
Right. Again, a controversial statement. Apollo's character arc in the first 4 Rocky movies is better than Rocky's character arc in the 5 Rocky movies.
You don't count the 6th one?
That's like a new continuity that starts up.
Well, okay. I will say this, just because this is some hot Rocky talk right here. Rocky's acting in 6 when he's Rocky Balboa, like the whole thing. It's ridiculous that he's fighting a young guy because he'd get his head handed to him. But a lot of that with like, Adrian died and everything was going on, and he ends up training, and he gets the trainer from Apollo to train him. And I'm like, okay, I really like this. The movie's stupid, but I'm with you. Apollo Creed all the way through. And I guess, like, I wonder if it was Sylvester Stallone. Somebody said that they were watching like some of the Rocky stuff with Muhammad Ali, and he goes, that like this guy gets it, you know what I mean? And when somebody tells like that, because that's kind of what it was, you know what I mean? Like the flamboyant stuff and everything like that. But Apollo Creed, all the way through those movies, all the way till he dies in 4, spoiler alert, kids, is great. And there's nothing better than the end of 3 when they leave it on the cliffhanger. There's nothing better than ring the bell. You do it, old man. Ding, ding, ding. They just throw the punches and it ends, and then that's the painting in the next movie, and we never see the fight. I'm like, I'm fine with it. I love Apollo Creed, and Living in America, that whole bit is amazing.
It's just an exhibition.
What he hits, heat this tonight.
Oh my goodness! I got to make my kid watch the Rocky movies.
Rocky movies are so good. And did you know that the Mad Bassist was almost in one of the Creed movies?
I think if I follow his social media, and I'm trying,
right, that is true.
I think he's in every movie, according to how often he tells us.
I'll tell you, any movie filmed in Georgia, they just call up the Mad Bassist. Can you show up? And there he is. But side note, though, I'm gonna hijack the show for a second.
Oh, good, because I got one last thing we could wrap up on. But go ahead.
Right. So mysteriously on Face and X today, AC/DC tweeted out a little like 10-15-second video, and it's the song "Are You Ready," which was hijacked by some company with a deviant boss. But I'm like, oh, is this it? Are we getting the tour? And everybody's saying that they're finally announcing the tour for the album that came out around the pandemic that they couldn't do anything because they're all like, 60 years old and stuff like that. So this might be your chance to take little Asa and little Todd to an AC/DC concert.
When I saw you tweeting about it, I'm like, oh, I hope they do announce it because we're going to go.
Yep.
Okay.
Oh, I'm definitely going. No problem.
So again, we're not exposing kayfabe, but we're going to expose just a little bit of kayfabe.
Okay.
So you mentioned when I looked up the Mad Bassists IMDb.
Yeah.
And first of all, why did I not know his real first name was William?
Kayfabe, but I'll lay it out on Main Street. Whether he gets mad at me, I think it's just to be different from his father because it's like the same. So when the mother would say the one name, and then I vaguely remember him saying like they would both get mail for stuff. And it would be for both Williams, if that makes any sense. So I think that's why he became Matt. But it's out there. But I can't believe what doxing people out there. You're against giving out first names, Joe.
Well, listen. I didn't give out his real first name like you just did.
Oh, okay. You can beep that. You can go back and beep that.
No, I don't know how to do that.
Oh, okay.
I'll say this. From what I know, his IMDb is incomplete.
Okay.
Because what's listed on here is Creed 2.
Mm-hmm.
Halloween Ends.
Right.
A TV show called Panhandle.
Right. Okay, that one I don't know.
A movie called May December.
Mm-hmm.
Another movie I know called Origin. That's like one of the more recent ones that he's been kind of like pushing, right?
Right.
Another movie called Pain Hustlers.
I think that's an adult movie.
Oh, okay. Now, I know that he did like some work on one of the Fear the Walking Deads and stuff.
Right.
Not on his IMDb.
There might be some union stuff with that, whether you're an extra. Sometimes they don't have to credit you, but go ahead.
I'm going for that union shit, right?
No. He tells me about the union, and I want to shoot myself, but go ahead.
But on his upcoming, he's in Not Another Church movie.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that one.
And he's in an untitled Scarlett Johansson Channing Tatum film.
I know the one that chaps my ass, Joe, is that he's in Clint Eastwood's last directorial movie.
Yeah.
I think it's Juror Number 2 or Juror Number 3, it's called, whatever. But he was in that. And he's always trying to get me to go down to Georgia to hang out with him. And he's like, when you come down, maybe I can get you in Clint Eastwood's movie. And I said, listen, son, if you got me on the set of Clint Eastwood's movie, I wouldn't be on that set for 30 seconds before they dragged me off. He'd be like, and action. Excuse me, Mr. Eastwood, could you sign my copy of Unforgiven? I'm your biggest fan. You know that scene that you did? And it would be me talking while two big burly guys had me by each arm, dragging me backwards as my heels scrape across the ground, yelling, Mr. Eastwood, Mr. Eastwood. But
now I did go look up my own IMDb, right?
Did you look up mine too? But go ahead.
I'll look up yours. You know what? Let me look up yours because we're reading mine. I could be here all day.
Oh my god! All those super secret science instruction videos. I was trying to say abdominal there for a second.
No, don't say that. You'll just get tripped up.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the the short entitled Selfie Nation. Is that you?
Yes.
Okay, so that's your one credit.
Oh, I only have the one credit? I thought I would have.
That's all that's on here.
Oh, okay. I have a couple of movies under my belt, so.
Now, again, let me dust this off here. Not only do I have a write-up, not only do I have a 126 credits.
Wow.
I have a trivia under the did you know section.
Oh, boy.
And it links my official Twitter account. Oh.
Under the trivia, did you know Joe is so hairy that it crinkles when you touch him?
Also, this is hilarious, right? So the trivia for me says, He is not listed on the past stars of Chikara page on the Chikara website.
Well, weren't you the anchor of the commentation station?
The Albatross, I thought it was.
Oh, both begin with A, but go ahead.
And listen to this bit of trivia. He was a wrestling fan before he got into the business and appeared in the audience for some early Chikara shows. And at this one specific show, Blackjack Marciano twisted his arm after being introduced for his match.
Did that happen?
Yes.
Okay, I don't know. Maybe it's false trivia. Fake news, Joe. Fake news.
What a random bit of trivia to be under my trivia section on IMDb. So listen, Bad Basis, if you're listening to this, I don't know what sort of representation that you have, but let's talk, pal.
Right. Under trivia for Joe, did you know he was almost burned alive in an ECW show? Because he had a bad wheel and a bunch of, attention deficit criminals almost stampeded him.
That's right.
I wish I had access to rewriting your IMDb.
All right. I'll save my other story for next week so this isn't too long. So we have something else to talk about, right?
Never too long. After dark is always a delight.
All right. I'll just say this then real quick. I had to go get a new debit card this week.
Oh, did you get it stolen or like?
No, the chip went on it.
Oh.
The chip stopped working. And this is like the third time, oh my God, in like 5 years that I've had to go and get a new card because the chip just stops working.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so frustrating. It's so infuriating. I remember a couple of weeks ago when I was having the car trouble, and did I talk about on here, like I went to like a Pep Boys, I ordered through their website the battery, and the
No.
Okay. So I went through the Pep Boys website. I ordered the thing through the Pep Boys website. I put my, my VIN number in, and it says, okay, here's the battery. You can schedule your thing to pick up anytime after this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I go there, and they're like, yeah, we didn't get our shipment today. Sorry, we should have sent you a notice that it wasn't in. So I'm like, son of a bitch. It was one of those things where, like, I wanted to take it to my local guy, but I'm like, I want to get this done ASAP as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, well, I'm right here. I'm by the sheets. I'm going to go up. I need to fill up on gas anyway. Let me go over and fill up on gas. And I'm there trying to use my chip card, and it wouldn't work.
Oh,
in
boy.
this sideways torrential downpour of rain.
Right.
So then I have to go inside the building and be like, I'm on pump whatever. I need to do this much money, right? And I don't really go anywhere. Like, it works in ATMs, but the only other two places that I go are Sheets for gas, mm-hmm. and the comic book store, and the chip was not working at either one of those places.
Right.
So
the credit's no good at the shop. So
right. Well, no, they have to. So it's one of these things. Have you ever been in a situation where the chip car, either your chip doesn't work or the reader won't pick up the chip?
Maybe, but then I always just swipe it. So
okay. So that's the thing. So you have to put it in, have it say chip doesn't read. You have to put it in a second time to say the chip doesn't read, and then it allows you to swipe it. If it just let me go to the swiping without doing the chip two times, because I know the chip doesn't work. I know the chip's not going to read it on this machine. Let me just swipe it, and it's not doing. And you can't do that at gas pumps. You can't do the swipe. It has to be the chip. They either have the thing where you put the chip in, you let it sit there until you take it out, or the gimmick where you hold it up to the little reader, right?
Right.
Neither one was working on any pump at any Sheets. I tried like 4 different pumps over the course of like the last like 3 or 4 weeks.
Right.
Like, fuck it. I'm just going to go get a new card. And then it's like one of those things where like the first like 6 numbers are the same, but the other 10 numbers aren't the same. And then the 3 numbers on the back are different. And I just memorized the 3 numbers on the back of the other card. Now I got to rememorize 3 more numbers.
You got to change your account at Undead Seaman for your debit card, stuff like that.
No, anything. And that's the thing. A majority of things, because this happens so often, I have it either set up with my checking or with my PayPal, if they allow that, right?
Right, or your credit card.
Well, I don't like using my credit card. Mm-hmm. Credit card is like for emergency purchases, whatever.
And OnlyFans, but go ahead.
No. Stop that. Mm-hmm. But like, if I could use my checking, I use my checking account. If I could use PayPal, I use PayPal. If last scenario is you don't take the checking, you don't take PayPal, you don't take Venmo. I picked up Venmo to fix this too. If you don't take any of those 3, and then I begrudgingly have to use my debit card on your thing, I will.
Right.
But then, like any of those things that I do, I now have to go and put the new card number in. I got to put the new 3-digit code in. And then anytime that you use that, which doesn't happen very often, they always make you like, oh, even though we have your card number saved, you still need to verify the 3-digit code. And I don't remember the 3-digit code yet, so that's a hassle. It's a hassle.
Gotcha.
Getting your debit card changed is one of the worst things in the world.
I'll take your word for it. I have had my debit card changed, but I never memorized any of the numbers. So I always be like, oh, I need to look at the back regardless. So
well, and so that's the thing. I don't memorize the 16 numbers, but I can remember 3 numbers better than I can remember 16 numbers.
I can't even remember 3. So yeah. That's what looking at. Einstein said, that's what like telephone books are for. I don't memorize phone numbers because I can look it up.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Right. That's it. Let's go to AC/DC when the tour goes on sale, right?
Sounds like fun.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks for listening. After Dark. If you're on the Patreon, patreon.com/longboxheroes, I say sign up now. So when the Madam Web episode drops next week, you could be one of the first people to listen to our thoughts on they're calling it the new Batman 89.
Mm-hmm. I'll say this, and if you are signed up, but only at the $1 level, go to the $5 so you get it immediately and don't have to wait 2 weeks.
Exactly, because by the
upgrade, baby.
Right, because by the time the 2 weeks have come, movie's going to be spoiled.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not going to be out of the theaters by then.
Yep.
Listen,
all your friends and neighbors are going to be talking about it, so you want it fresh.
Right. When you go to work on Thursday, Friday, if you work on Saturday or Sunday, Monday, everyone's talking about Madam Web. Do you want to be left out?
No.
Okay. And that's up to you. I say no. What's $5? Be ahead of the curve,
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
All right, everyone. Thank you very much for listening. We will see you all next week.
You're listening to the soon-to-be-named network, the Lamborghini of podcast networks.